I'd like to thank you for allowing us into your homes for this 32nd episode of Season 2 of Esoteric Science Roundtable. And it might be obvious to those of you out there that are not visually impaired that I do have two guests today, Jeff Contreras.
Hey, how's it going, Austin, Texas?
Chris Athanas.
Hello, everybody.
So I'm really honored to have you guys here because you guys are a lot like a pay-per-view. You're in demand. Get you guys down here together. I'm honored to have you guys both on my show.
Thanks,
It's great to just be able to have this forum for us to chat a bit.
Yeah.
And I want to start by saying thanks to everybody that came out last night to Opal Divines for our monthly third Wednesday metaphysical/philosophical discussion.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there was about 30 people there last night, and almost every
I saw you guys there.
Every conversation was like very interesting and
Actually, it
intriguing.
was so bubbling with conversation that if you wanted to have a sane conversation, you kind of had to duck out and go outside for a little while, and then you come back in and join the melee. But
every single conversation was very informative.
Yeah, I had a great time. I have to agree, man. And that's what's great about those meetings is you get people, a meeting of the minds of all kinds of people that are actively doing something to kind of help alleviate this whole situation that we're in, try to help enlighten people a bit and provide some solutions. That's one of the things that sometimes is sorely lacking is some kind of a direction, some kind of a focus on how we can practically do things to alleviate, again, some of these problems that we're facing that so many of us are so well aware of. But if we can start a bit with some of the things that are on you guys' minds. Chris, why don't you, if you don't mind jumping in?
The big thing that's been on my mind lately is forgiveness and the power of forgiveness and how it's not just for the other person, it's actually for yourself. And the one book I really like is this book called Radical Forgiveness. And there's also there's also like seminars that this guy does and everything, but it's pretty good. It talks about the energy body and how if you hold things against people, you're actually really trapping energy inside your body and not allowing it to flow properly, which causes all kinds of other problems that just keep you stuck in the past and don't allow you to live life fully. And this book is about how to forgive and the steps you need to take to forgive other people for the things that have happened. And it's just events. They're not personal. There's things that happen that you somehow take personally. It's just things that happen. And the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm really into the forgiveness cycle is that this book talks about how if you want to activate your natural psi energies, your psychic abilities, that you do, that one of the key elements is to get rid of those negative feelings you have against others out of your system, and forgiveness is one of the keys. And there's some other keys here, but like focus, intent, and pay attention, keep a journal, keep light company, find good teachers, seek out solitude, spend time in nature, be present and aware, practice structured meditation, know yourself, get physical exercise. And one of the biggest ones she talks about is forgiveness, is practicing forgiveness for everyone else, and allowing those things out of your system. And that's been one of my main things lately is about forgiveness, and mostly about forgiving myself.
I was coming back from New Mexico with Tom Thoman, and we were listening to the Power of Now on CD.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of what you were saying, I remember him what that author calls it, I forget his name, but he calls that the pain body.
Yeah, the pain body.
The pain body, how people create this pain body from all their basically, all the negative emotions and feelings that they have built up over their lifetime.
Yep.
And this pain body becomes like a friend to them, and a lot of people start depending on their pain body, and even though they know they need to make a separation, it's one of those things like, I don't want to cut off my right hand, you know what I mean? I've had it my whole life and it's always did me right. Even though I know it's evil, I don't want to get rid of it, and it's really difficult sometimes.
That pain body colors your universe. It tells you basically what you're entitled to expect from the world, which is totally false. I mean, in my estimation, my experience so far, the world is abundant. It's really giving. It's very forgiving. It has lots of stuff to offer, and it's not limiting in any way. But when we attach to the pain body and attach to not forgiving other people, we limit the world. and the world becomes limiting and limited for us. And that's been a really good lesson for me, and that's been a hard one for me to learn also, very hard for me to learn.
Right. I would say that also ties in considerably with the whole idea of character armor that, excuse me, that Wilhelm Reich brought out. And as far as if you have something that you are so localized on, these are the things that so-called harden, and those may eventually turn into some sort of a physical disease and some sort of a malady as far as where we have the blockage in our body, or a constipation could be another term for it as well, as far as just not allowing that free flow of energy and that allowing that you're saying. If we are stuck on a non-forgiving, if we just hold a grudge towards somebody for the rest of our lives for something, some transgression, then that will eat us up like a cancer, and that's where cancer comes from a lot of times as well.
I've kind of come to the conclusion that is what cancer is all about. It's holding those memories and those thought forms and those ideas inside your body, inside your cells, in a constrained, held way, and not letting it go. And this is another book I've been looking at lately. It's called The Secret of Letting Go. And, this is one of the ways that another way to conquer stress and develop freedom and clear away obstacles out of your life is to let go. And this book, The Secret of Letting Go, really goes through step by step why it's important in a very easy to read way. And the forward is by Desi Arnaz Jr.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he talks about how he had to let go of a lot of stuff from his childhood that affected him and wasn't allowing him to live properly.
Yeah, actually quite a few of these child celebrity stars that have found their way into the limelight at a very early age, they do have a lot of psychological issues they have to deal with. So these are good examples of people that can come forward with some real advice for their own situations.
Is there a crosstalk? Are we having crosstalk?
I'm not sure what's going on, quite frankly, but I might just be hearing it through the wall, maybe.
Okay.
But anyway, go ahead, finish up with what you were saying.
It's just that, it's not just about, letting go and just letting someone else get away with something, because actually it's not even about them. When you forgive someone else, it's not even about them. It's about yourself and about allowing you to live a life more fully and more abundantly, and to access your natural rights, like as a human being on this planet, as your psychic abilities. You're allowed to access those things again when you do practice forgiveness. And it's not easy. It's really hard because your ego gets in the way, and you think you're bigger and better than that.
And not only that, but I think a lot of people, we're conditioned to want to blame something outside of ourselves for all of our troubles.
Right.
In today's society, and actually the American culture, unfortunately, or a lot of the Western cultures, they are so get an immediate fix that if you're having a problem, something has got to be the blame. And so there's something from outside that they want you to take in order to make it better. They give you an outside source for your misery, and then they claim something from outside of you can eliminate that misery.
Right. And I think when I was reading one book or listening to someone talk about that, blame is mental illness. Right? Looking at outside yourself for whatever problems you're having is a mental illness.
And that is the ultimate limitation as well. You limit yourself so much by staying locked in blame and the unforgiving attitude that you won't be able to progress past that, again, that little cancerous thing that, the potential for so much disruption to our system. If we can't allow that free flow of expression, then we're going to limit ourselves with what we're able to bring forward.
Mm-hmm. And in The Secret of Letting Go, there's a questions about self-wholeness that talks about this issue specifically. And it talks about, instead of asking yourself, why do these things always happen to me, you learn to ask, what is it inside of me that attracts these painful situations? Right. And I just went through a bunch of stuff like that, and this really hits me hard. Another one here is, instead of always asking yourself why things had to go this way or be that way, learn to ask, why is it the way I feel always determined by external conditions? Instead of always asking yourself how to protect yourself in challenging situations, learn to ask, what is it in me that always needs to be defended? And these are some things, a different way of looking at life and your life and how you live your life, and why things are happening to you and the way they're happening, that are esoteric, because you don't necessarily look at society does not train us to look at things this way.
Yeah.
We have to
We
go
look at
through
the
a lot of
exterior, outer things
like
so
everything
much.
out there that's causing
Right.
me to be painful. I can't
Right.
get a job, or that person hurt me, or why are these things happening? Well, it's because there's something inside you that's allowing it to happen to you and allowing you to
One
have it
thing
happen that
too,
way.
people sometimes, you might be able to size up other people's problems and see clearly what it is that's giving this person difficulty, and they're like, how can you not see what your difficulty and your dilemma is?
Right.
It's very obvious to me,
Right.
and that is the thing that is like a 800-pound gorilla on our shoulders, that we can't a lot of times realize our own inadequacies and deficiencies,
I tell ya.
and we hold on to that sick little friend like you guys were discussing earlier,
Yep.
and not considering our problems.
Well, why do you think it is we're blind to our own?
I think it's
pride sometimes.
the ego has a lot to do with
Pride
it.
and
We
the
just
ego.
want to think that we know so much.
Or we're in control of our own situation.
Exactly, and even though you might see the train wreck coming, and so you grab a couple of books and you read about it and you understand the situation and you think, okay, I know the train wreck is coming and I prepared for it by reading all these different theories of how to handle this situation. Yet when it happens and it hurts and it starts to be painful, you forget all of that other stuff. Because when it comes down to it, it's just like when you're playing sports. You don't have time to think about anything. It's your natural reaction. Mm-hmm. And unless you've really been exposed to pain and let yourself really feel that pain several times and know and understand how to deal with it when it happens to you immediately, then you're always going to fall back to those survival type instincts, which is basically just means me, to make sure that you're okay. And then, and only then, once your me has determined that you're safe, then you can start going, oh, now I see, now I understand. It's just like the book says, I did this, and this. And only then, really, once you're assured of your own safety, that's when you can start to really examine the situation.
But I think it's also going to come to the experiential thing as well. You can prepare and learn theory all week long, but when it comes down to living life, it really boils down to living life. And
exactly.
You have to go through and experience. And that's what it is so much for all of these things that are labeled esoteric or inner or hidden, is that you do have to have some sort of experience and be able to size it up subjectively in your own life. If you try to sit here, if we had the atheist guys sit here right now and we try to explain to them about some of these things, if they don't have some kind of their own inner experience to identify with what we're describing, then they'll just think that, they're talking fanciful ideological ideas and there's nothing really practical from where they're coming.
Right.
But really, it has to boil down to experience. What you experience and express through your own life. And then you can see and look back through history and see all the other great lives that have gone through similar things.
I really thought before these things happened to me that I was actually above a lot of this stuff.
The pride and the ego.
I thought, why are these people having such difficulties in these things? It's just so simple. It's so easy to see what the problems are, until it hit me, and now I have a lot more compassion for people and empathy for people when they're going through stuff, and because, I thought I was above it. I thought my mental self, my mental body was able to totally compensate for any lack in my emotional body. And I know now that that's not possible, that any part of your psyche that is neglected and not looked after and not treated properly will eventually take over and get its needs met however it needs to happen.
Exactly.
And it can't be denied.
And, just when you were saying that, all I could keep thinking of was, the disgruntled postal worker dudes. You know what I mean? I don't know why they really wig out, but obviously something in their life is, building up and pressuring, and they're ignoring it. Right. And they're just ignoring it. Like if somebody wants it, and it doesn't even have to be your emotional body. It can be your physical body as well. Right. You can start to ignore your physical body and think, well, just because I'm working my mental body and my spiritual body, that everything's going to be okay. Right. But it's not. You have to make sure and take care of all of your bodies.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And it seems to be sequential. You have to have the physical body in order to take care of the emotional body, in order to take care of the mental body, which then allows you to get access to the spiritual body.
Exactly.
And a lot of people seem to want to skip that. They want to skip the emotions or skip the mental body. I know I was trying to skip my emotional body.
Because you're such a mental, analytical person that you're predisposed to that way of thinking.
Right. And I had done it for so long successfully that I thought I could keep going.
Right.
And like forever.
And
Yeah.
in
And
my,
that was a major mistake.
in my experiences and through my growing, what I've come to learn is I completely neglect the intellectual body quite a bit. I feed the emotional body, I try to take care of the physical body, and I've been working on the spiritual body, but really the intellectual body, sometimes I just don't feel like I have time for it. I mean, I might read all the time, and you know, when I'm not reading books, I'm spending time on the internet thinking I'm learning, but I don't know, sometimes to me it just seems that I don't learn what I'm reading, you know what I mean? I'm just reading it and getting the information, but I'm not really learning from it or exercising my intellectual body.
Or you're not looking at the material that you really need to have your other bodies be aligned properly, you know?
Exactly.
And not integrating that stuff in
Yeah,
properly.
instilling it as some kind of a thing inherent in you. You know what I mean? You got to internalize what you read and make practical, again, as we say, practical application, experiential use out of whatever it may be to have some expression outward.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's, I mean, it's so amazing how you're blind to these things until they come up and take you over.
They blindside you.
Blindsided, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm
yeah.
just amazed at the process that, you know, there is blindsided.
I wasn't even looking at that.
He was talking about this book about Planet X, Blindsided, the Earth changes. And it's called Blindsided.
Just a weird synchronicity.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm just amazed. And one of the other things I've learned through this process is that your mind gives you exactly what you want. And this book right here, The Amazing Laws of Cosmic Mind Power, talk about how to download into your subconscious mind positive and beneficial thought patterns that will help you move out of your negative patterns, which it seems to be either our culture or our society or the way things are in this world right now. We naturally have a tendency, which I don't think is natural. I think we have a tendency to go to the negative parts and to think things are small, negative, and limiting, when I know for a fact that they're not. And I've established that in my life on many occasions that they're not. Our life is not limited. It's not small. It's abundant and unlimited. And I'm not. Do you have any ideas about why we always go to the negative? I know we're set up not to do that, though.
Well, I think it's almost, you know, just to offer a different perspective, it's like the difference between something limiting what we are. You know, our mind is a limiting mind. It's a finite entity. We're a finite being. And so just from that perspective, we tend to think of things in a finite way.
Right.
And it's really, that's one of the main, or I think one of the best benefits of transcendental meditation. The transcendentalists, they really go out of their way in order to look at things from the experience of the infinite.
Yeah.
And that way they can realize the abundance that you're talking
But
about
it
and
is.
see that everything is holographic and fractal and that
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
exists and it's going exponentially.
Right, big time.
Yeah.
But what are we taught, though? What are we taught to ritualize, believe, express? We're not taught critical thinking skills. We're not taught abstract thinking. We're taught more just, you know, they start to teach you how to write a check when you're like a little kid in school. I remember that, you know, and they try to get you just locked into, like you say, this limited, finite expression, and they want you to, you know, perhaps go to college and then get the job and then maybe perhaps raise a family and then die, and that's your time. You know what I mean? That's what our perception is through what we've been indoctrinated with and ingrained into us for so long. You know, we have to break those ritualized, habitual patterns. Our reptile mind can be plagued and can be, you know, harped upon by so many things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm stimulated to think that we actually are separate entities, when I know for a fact that we're not. We're very unified. I mean, just the fact that I can speak to you and have these thought patterns come into your brains, even somewhat similar to mine, tells me that we are so connected together that it's hard to deny that we are separate. But for a long time I thought we were completely separate beings, that we were all separate entities, that we're all individual little boxes that have no idea about what each other are. And that was when I was going through my atheist phase.
Right.
And I've since had experiences and scientific proof that shows me that that's not the case at all.
Right,
We're all completely connected. I just wonder why why it is that, now that I know that, and I know that there's no other way to explain a lot of things that have happened in my life, why we continue to think that we're limited entities, limited small entities. And I know, go ahead.
I don't know. I was sitting there trying to think about why that is, and I was trying to think what it was in me that to where I finally just got over that hurdle. And it's not that at all, though. It's not that I've gotten over the hurdle. It's just that I can put myself there, and I'm there a lot of the time. But I realize I'm not there all the time, and I always come back onto this side, even though I know and I recognize that there is the infinite and the abundance. You always get pulled back down into the finite and the material, and it comes and goes in cycles.
Yeah,
and the thing is to just when you're hitting it really well and you're really in touch or connected with that experience, carry that over into the downtime.
Right.
That's the key.
You have to
That's
carry
hard.
that experience over into the
Definitely.
downtime.
That's the hard part.
That is very hard.
And also, too, with us being limited, too, it's partially, as far as I would say, karmic. It's very karmic that we put on this limited expression, we put on this body of limitation to experience certain things. And
That's
certain
true.
people have to experience the most basic, fundamental aspects of living to conquer those, which would for them would be monumental hurdles and mountains to accomplish. But it's it takes those initial steps, like you're saying, and we all are at our various levels of understanding and growth and that sort of thing. And it's not necessarily that one person is this much better or higher. It's just that we all are climbing a ladder. Some have taken better advantage of their time and have put it to more constructive use, and so therefore they are making strides on this ladder of evolution, whereas others stay back and they're more focused on maybe their own self and their own limited situation, and until they incrementally things come into their perception that they can build from, they'll stay locked into those limiting situations.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the main problems is that there's no specific set of tools that people can actually just use. It's not like you can go to the store and say, "Oh, I need the tool that helps me work on my emotional self," and there's nothing like that. And even though there are people that have mastered that and actually have nurtured themselves, all of their bodies, and become more complete, and even though they have left behind their steps, how they did it, if a person hasn't had that guru's experiences,
Right.
his teachings and his methods may not work for that person or for
Very true.
everybody.
Right.
And those experiences are just simply what the mystery schools would call initiation.
Exactly.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Those and because I was reading a book about how people can automatically initiate through a lot of what the mystery schools are talking about by just going through daily life. And I read this
completely,
book and I saw a
completely.
lot of things I'd already gone through.
Yes.
And it also frightened me because it kind of let me know there were some things I was reading I didn't understand. I was going, what is this talking about? That I knew at some point I would know.
Right.
And that I would have to go through even more initiations
Yes.
of through going through life
Yes.
to have this higher level awareness. Because there's something that happened inside me that made me say, okay, I need to take care of these things.
But that's how it has to be with every single person, as you're saying. The ready set of tools, I think the tools are available for everyone that needs them, but it kind of falls along the lines of, like in the Bible, the ask, the seek, and the knock, that whole thing. Ask, basically. That you have to ask, and there has to be that point of motivation and understanding for you to get to the point where you're going to ask for something like a spiritual gift, as opposed to, oh, I can't pay my rent, I need money.
Right.
Thinking in the very basic terms instead of thinking, other ways in a more spiritual realm, how they could bring the financial into their lives and thinking on that larger scale. But that something has to activate them, like you're saying.
And the
point.
spiritual realm, whenever I hear somebody talk about the spiritual realm, it's sort of like, you're asking some Santa for a gift. And in fact, I've come to the conclusion that's not really what the spiritual realm for me means. It means that there are laws that are not obvious, that are somewhat hidden,
True.
meaning that they're not obvious, they're not clear just by looking day-to-day operations on the surface of things, that you can get access to, that will provide you the insight necessary to get all of your needs met. And that's one of the books I was reading here called Angel Energy. And it talks about the different...
A little bit of a blue book there.
It's a blue
Angel
book.
Energy.
Angel Energy. And it talks about these 22 angels are the centers of living energy that provide us with all we need to sustain us on our journey through life. And there are things like how to awaken to higher consciousness, how to heal the past, how to communicate with angels, awake and dreaming, find your right livelihood, how to gain confidence. And it talks about all these different angels, which, he uses the word angels, which, they sort of are entities of themselves, but they're basically ideas, thought forms, ways of thinking about the world, ways of thinking about things that bring you insight so you can solve the problems on your own in this world, in this material world, and then which then reflect back up to the other worlds, the emotional worlds, the mental worlds, and the spiritual worlds. So you basically draw them down, these ideas, these concepts that allow you to get your needs met. Like here's some other ones here. Well, let me see. Let me give you some names of these angels. Like there's angels of courage, angels of
I'm sure healing and all
healing and truth and forgiveness and ways of getting your needs, all your needs met that you might have in the world. Like I don't have the list of them, darn it. But this book really opened me up to what some of the more ancient traditions were talking about when they're talking about angels. It's just concepts and ideas and bundles that once you link into them, open up a whole different world of understanding about how to get needs met.
Jeff, speak about your understanding of that, communing with those embodied energies and that exchange of force and energy that's related to what some people would term angels.
Well, I think what a lot of people would, most people today will call angels the archetypes. You know what I mean?
Archetypes.
Right.
Definitely, things that exist within the collective consciousness that are stable, that aren't dynamic, they don't really change. These are things that you can count on, these archetypes. And these archetypes, most of them are created by humans. We create our own archetypes, and we're building and destroying archetypes all the time, collectively as a race, the human race. And over time, these archetypes have developed just because so many different people have gone through that situation, and this experience is now ingrained into the collective psyche of the human race.
Right.
That means at any time, you can, even though you haven't experienced these things, you can connect with the archetype and draw from the experience. And
Right.
that's how you would get the information from the angels,
Right.
and throughout the ages, they have, different people have talked about this. The magicians of old used to be the only psychologists there were.
Right.
The
Alchemists.
the church does not have a monopoly on spirituality.
No.
They never have, and they never will. It's not something that you can bottle up and sell. It's something you have to learn and earn.
Right, that's very
Good
true.
point, good
And
point.
here's some of the names of these angels: the angel of unconditional love and freedom, the angel of illusion and reality, and they even have the
angel of the Matrix.
archetypes of that some of the more ancient religions and mystical traditions have come through. Like the angel of illusion and reality correlates to Hermes and Mercury, and also on the tarot it's the magician, angel of creative wisdom, angel of abundance. Angel of power and authority, an angel of spiritual understanding, angel of loving relationships. These are energies and concepts, and for lack of a better word, seems to be living entities within ourselves that we can come in contact with, that allow us to solve our problems in a way that's not just for ourselves, but for everybody else around us. And it's a win-win situation. That's really what the angels are into, and these concepts are into. Win-win situations where no one is the victim, that everyone gains from their accessing their ideas and their energies and becoming more in tune with these things. And this book really helped me understand a lot more of those concepts in a very concrete turn. John Randolph Price he's I believe a really excellent author, has gone through some really amazing experiences on his own later on in his life that gave him very interesting and useful insights into how these things can be accessed for us on our day-to-day life. And that's what I'm interested in. How can we access this stuff on our day-to-day life and not put it out there in some other realm that we can use right here, right now to solve the problems that we have, that we all have. And go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
That's cool. I would just say that the angels are tied, we have a parallel evolution with David's so-called Eastern term and the angel evolution. There's a parallel between that evolution and our human evolution that plays interchanges and exchanges. But also outside of that, that our human organ, the heart, and its etheric counterpart and its, additional counterparts that are more refined. Again, we talk about emotional, mental bodies, all that. We have you can term it a mental heart, if you will, and that the heart is multidimensional, multifaceted, and that is the dense physical organ that allows us to tap in and tie into this allowing, this being open-hearted, open-minded, and being allowing, and being, again, forgiving, as you were saying earlier, and to understand that, rather than just bag on somebody for whatever they're doing, you understand that, hey, that's what they need to go through, that's their situation, be respectful of that, be allowing of their situation, and, give them some love and light and send them on their way with a blessing. That's the best you can do.
And it's easier to connect with the empathy if you've gone through that initiation yourself, or that sequence of events that got you there, because I was very aloof.
True, and that is the main benefit of group therapy. It really is. The people get together that have experienced the same or very similar tragic emotional events, and that really helps people overcome that traumatic event.
Doesn't feel like you're the first person.
Exactly.
To go
and that Aquarian type of thinking.
And that really helps in letting the ego understand that, this is very okay. I am very human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And a lot, one of the banes, I think, of magic in general, and is that, you have to subdue the ego or destroy or demolish the ego. No. See, even in the Eastern system, I think that's even more so a stereotype. Right. But, you need your ego. You can't do anything without your ego. You have to nurture your ego. Your ego sometimes is just like your subconscious. It's young, and you have grown up. Your subconscious stays young. Your ego stays young because you never take the time to develop these things. And it really is a process that takes time and work and energy. And that's why you don't see enlightened people walking around all over the place.
Or maybe they are walking all over the place and you just don't see them because we're not seeing it in the right light. I think a lot of grandparents are very enlightened.
Definitely.
I try to keep that humble perspective because you never know the bum filtering, sifting through the trash heap, what is his experience, where has he come from, who is he in actuality? He may not be that bum that you're picturing in your mind. So to try to pay respect and have that, again, that heart approach to all living entities is what's going to get us that sympathetic or empathetic exchange that allows us to commiserate, understand, and put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, basically. Certainly if we've had that experience ourselves, we can grow from it and understand, but not necessarily. Humans could not have gotten together in a group formation and had a group psychological outpouring thousands of years ago because we were not evolved to that point where the mental faculties were able to, psychology and that sort of thing was pretty much relegated to the mystery schools. It wasn't really out so much for everybody's use because, again, our mental faculties have evolved over time, and that's why these things are only now in the 20th century, 19th century and 20th century really coming into the fore as far as this psychological groups and in counseling with other people that have had a similar experience. Maybe they've lost a child or something like that, and they come together.
Do you think this hyper speed up of information in our information culture has forced us into a place where, because we've have access now to nuclear weapons and can totally annihilate ourselves many times over, do you think that there's been this information explosion that's caused us to force us to have the mental ability to understand our emotional selves in order to get access to the spiritual realm? That there's been like this, some group of people have forced this onto us so we can adjust our mental abilities and our emotional abilities so we can get in touch with some of the things that are really going on here so we don't destroy ourselves.
No, we have been locked in and limited, and there are definitely programs that have gone on for a long time to keep us within that rigid, limited perception, that tunnel vision. And I do think that the sign of the time, there are a lot of things that are coming together in time and space right now to allow for this upsurge, this enhancement and this emphasis upon maybe the more spiritual and the more metaphysical in light of the dense physical. This growth, this outpouring, this expression. So many people are crying out, for something in their lives, and they're trying to put a finger on it. What is this that I need in my life to fulfill me? And more people are not getting it through material things. They're not finding it through the church. They're not finding it through material means. They're not finding it through relationships a lot of times. And these are the things that they have to look inside and say, man, know thyself, and come from that point of understanding to become the whole total person, and for us to be a race, entirely a globe actually, of living lighted links of understanding and spiritual expression, creative activity. It's really up to us. But yes, it is exploding exponentially, and many things are the catalyst and the progenitors of that unfolding. There's so many things going on right now we could point a finger at. We'd have to do like a 3-part show to really hone down all that stuff.
Not only that, I think it's kind of like, when you make a connection to the collective unconsciousness, it's kind of like, the straws they used to use, were small straws. This is the kind of connection you make. That's the kind of connection you used to make. But now, with all this information explosion, when you make the connection, you're using one of those big jumbo straws that you drink that Thai tea with, with the tapioca balls down in the bottom. Those huge straws. Those are the straws you're making the connection with. And when you make a connection like that, ready or not, here comes the information.
Boy,
and a lot of times, it blows your fuse.
It'll wash the spider out.
Exactly. And when your fuse is blown like that, it takes a long time before you can actually reset or reprogram and have your neurons or your brain know where to start sorting all this information properly.
Okay. Any final comments? Let's start touching that box.
Okay, sure.
I guess the number one thing is, we're talking a lot about these negative emotional types of things. I just want to bring up a book that really helped me understand a little bit more about the creative mind and success. It's called The Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. And this is a guy that did a work called The Science of Mind that talks about how to engage your mental facilities in order to understand more about the spiritual process that's going on. And for some people like me, which is I'm a logical left brain kind of guy who likes to think about things in a very logical, progressive, very I don't need to know it concretely, understand what they're talking about. Ernest Holmes really put it into perspective, a lot of things into perspective for me about the spiritual world and how you can access those things by the main thing this book's about is like attracts like. So if you want to become like something, you have to become like it. You have to change your thought processes and change the way you think about things in order to become that thing that you want to become. And this book really kind of blended the Eastern and Western traditions together for me to make it a lot more understandable. That's
cool. And Ernest Holmes is considered one of the, if not the original self-help author.
Yeah, he's pretty kick-ass. That book is from the early part of the century, like
early
1910.
Right, exactly. That's why he's pretty ahead of the game back then with that.
And it's still very readable.
Jeff, please, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
I'll try to get in 10 calls. So that just means 2 minutes each, y'all. Line 3, you're on the air.
Chris, do you have us?
Hello?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's you.
Oh, hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Great.
I was just wondering, where are you guys from exactly?
South Austin.
I'm from planet Earth, I guess. I was born in Maine.
All right,
I'm straight out of Cameron, but I was born in Temple, Texas.
cool. I've been watching your guys' show for like a couple weeks. I've seen the guy on the left a couple of times on. I have no clue what you guys are talking about.
That's good.
You guys are babbling on for a while, and I've seriously been watching it for like, 15, 20 minutes sometimes. No idea what are you guys talking about.
That's good. You're not ready for it, but you will be at some point, and hopefully this will sink in.
Ready
Maybe
for what,
happy.
though? That's what I'm trying to find out.
When-
What does
when-
this have to do
when-
with
when
precipitation?
things- when
Yeah, I
things-
haven't even heard you mention that.
When things happen to you in your life that you can't handle or understand why they're happening, then you'll get it.
But you are taking the time to view, and you are trying to digest what we're trying to bring out here. So why is it that you're, taking 15 minutes or 20 minutes to try to understand? I mean, there must be some reason for you to.
Because
try
I
to
see
view.
no real logical connection to anything you say. It's just like, I think I understand the English language pretty well, but you guys are talking, and I'm like, what? That didn't make any sense.
Self-help in general. I mean, just to put it in a nutshell, today is a kind of self-help thing.
When things happen to you in your life that you don't fully understand and have no reference for, where do you go for help? How do you find out?
Well, if it's something I don't know, then I obviously can't make a decision on that.
Well, what happens when you have to make a decision? When you have to make a decision, when you have to be in the moment.
That's a pretty broad question.
Well, exactly. It's a pretty broad problem.
Life.
so well, give me a specific question, and maybe I can answer that.
Let's say you have some kind of a trauma. Let's say you lose a loved one, a very dear person to you,
okay,
and you are just wrought with grief. How do you proceed? Do you go inward, or do you find a priest? Do you find a loved one? How do you proceed?
Okay, so you guys are talking about some sort of like spiritual or personal thing.
In a nutshell, yes.
Stuff that happens.
Is there something you call this?
Esoteric science.
I call it life.
Life.
Thank you very much for your call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Line 2, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I got 2 quick questions. This has been a great show, by the way. Chris, what mystery school book were you talking about? And Jeff, what day does that 10 Gateway Mayan calendar days start?
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow. 10 straight days of Galactic Activation Portal.
Weird. And what was that book?
There's all these books, have touch on all the different mystery religions I've ever seen.
But you were talking about the one that's initiation through life experience.
This one's called Success in Mind. The Creative Mind and Success is called Science of Mind. Ernest Holmes.
And that's the one that's about initiation through experience.
Well, they all the mystery schools talk about that, initiation through different types of experiences.
But you said like one book specifically referenced like certain experiences, I believe.
Well, there's Your Sixth Sense. I talked about that one. It's not one of these.
It's not one of those.
Angel Energy.
Okay, well, thank you.
I can't remember.
Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
One quick thing, though. I mean, there are books specifically on initiation if you want to learn about the science of initiation and those.
I think
that book.
I think Franz Barden has a book called Initiation.
Yeah.
There's Initiation, Human and Solar by Alice Bailey.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's books about the Egyptian initiation.
That's what it is. Franz Barden.
Yeah, Franz Barden.
Initiation into Hermetics.
And there's one called like Self-Initiation or Initiation from Life, or I can't remember the name of the title. Rudolf Steiner talks about it too.
Initiation books, exactly.
Yeah, it talks about how regular life circumstances will initiate you into what the mystery traditions were trying to do.
And the mystery school tradition, all they did was they were keen observers of human nature, and they saw what experience helped people grow. And then what they would do is they would put you in a controlled environment and expose you to these experiences and basically force you to grow and learn.
Yeah.
Right.
So when that situation would come up in your life, you'd have some kind of context to then handle this problem that came up in your life.
But it's true.
Which
it
is
is
very
like,
effective.
You're like a hothouse flower, man. They've got you just boom. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Put the whammy on you and concentrate things.
Right.
Line 1, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, dudes? Great show, by the way, man. Man, I've been waiting so long for a show with all 3 of you guys get together at the same time, man, because, I watch Access a lot, and, man, I really get a lot out of your shows. I mean, your topics really make me focus on different aspects in my life. And I noticed when they got close, when they focused in on you, that bracelet, is that one of those, like, anti-stress or something? Does that actually work? And
it's a placebo.
Oh, okay. And you were talking about how you've realized that we're all connected.
Very much.
Like, we're all connected in a lot different ways, a lot of aspects. But, we need to get connected in different aspects, such as...
We were waiting for you, neighbor.
Good caller,
It's not a show without him.
It's
not a show without
You do watch every show. I give you credit for that, without a doubt.
But you are the biggest Access live show fan that I'm
He's
aware
my
of.
biggest fan, that's for sure. You followed me around.
Line
even
3,
though
you're
I
on the
was
air.
off
Hello?
Yes.
That's you.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. I'm sorry. I was entranced by that. Hey, I was wondering if any of y'all have read Prometheus Rising by
Yes.
Robert Anton Wilson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
As a matter of fact,
Good book.
a funny little sad anecdote about Robert Anton Wilson. I was going to have him on my show.
Really?
Yes,
Huh.
but September the 11th happened,
Right.
Yeah.
and they canceled all the flights, and I was going to have him on my show, not September the 13th, but the 20th.
Really?
Yes.
Damn, that's
But
interesting.
he was going to come down for the one of Smiles's UFO conferences.
Right, that had to be canceled also.
Yes.
Right,
And man, if it wasn't for that, we would have had him on the show, and it would have been one of the best shows I've ever done, I think.
Oh, I
Even
would have been
though-
watching
even though-
someday. You never know. Hey.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him that a friend
Hadley
of mine,
did,
Hadley
right?
went out
Yeah.
and did it, and he wasn't as, I think he's getting old.
Yeah, I think he's actually sick right now too.
Well, he's been confined to a wheelchair for the past few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing so well.
Yeah.
But his books really rock, and
They
his
do.
tapes that he did earlier on really are quite insightful, funny, and
Yeah,
really well done.
that's what I like about it. Well, I've enjoyed watching each of your shows,
Thanks.
and thanks.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Appreciate it. Have a nice evening.
Line 2, you're on the air.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Good.
It's Arthur. Jeff, I wanted to ask you a question. This show you did, I was taping two things at once, and my VCR tape kicked out, and I'd only got about 5 minutes of your show this last Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
Do you know when that might be re-airing?
The show I did just on Tuesday?
Yeah,
Probably
I know.
never.
Probably never.
Probably never.
And-
But this is what I can do for you. If you email me or, call my voicemail and come to the meeting, but you call me a couple days before the meeting and say, hey, I want a tape of such and such a show,
Right.
I'll bring it to the meeting.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And Chris, it's good to see you, man.
Thank you, sir.
It's real good to see you. I want to tell you, I wish you'd put your show back on, man. You give like the technical, sometimes about the computers and a little bit different things than everybody else talks about.
Completely.
And it's real enlightening. I really miss you, man. Miss your show. Miss everything. All right, good to see you back.
I appreciate your call, but that's what we're
Thanks,
trying to
Arthur.
do because we're trying to get this guy's feet wet so that he can jump back in next fall season.
Yeah, I'm
in a couple
thinking about
months
doing
here.
another show in October. I
I
probably
think you
will.
should think very strongly about
Probably
it, man, with your new growth and your new experiences you
Yeah,
speak
new.
about. can new for you.
Line 1, you're on the air.
Well, I love to talk about new stuff and old stuff, and one of the oldest stuff is space-time travel and what is relative and what if time slowed down and we all looked at each other in the eye, would we still be seeing the same brain matter, or we all have the same brain matter? And out of all the galaxies that are out there, if we could get on a ship and travel there, would our brain matter still be the same, looking the guy in the eye the same way? Not only that, but should we fund NASA and to get astronauts and monkeys and little girls and squirrels and everybody else into space, and to get them out of this planet, because this is like the wretched soul of the demon monkey black soul in the lighter years. So what do you got to say about that?
Pretty intense. Put that guy on hold for a second, maybe, or what have you.
Okay.
But I would just say quickly that you cannot reach that condition in a physical body. You would have to just be consciousness, and there would have to be merged consciousness, and so you would just perceive as opposed to visually see with your physical eyes anything. It would just have to be a merging of consciousness. And when we get to a higher evolved condition, we would find that there is a merging together of consciousness, and we would blend and understand intuitively a collective, if you will, a collective consciousness or what have you. As far as funding NASA and this dog and pony show that they call the space program, the space shuttle, all that, that is a dog and pony show for the public so that they can use their anti-gravity devices behind the scenes to actually do a lot of things. And a lot of the UFOs that people see are actually military craft more
Yeah.
so than they are
Piloted by
extra
people.
cosmic visitors to this planet. Although there are extra cosmic visitors to this planet, I believe.
Yeah, extra dimensional, extra cosmic.
Extra dimensional.
And I not to be, I think this guy's, I think, is being a little facetious, but
I thought it was a great question.
I think he's just being a little silly about the way he's asking it. But I think what we'll find here on this planet is very similar to what we'll find on any other planet.
And
Life
I
is
think
universal.
the answers to all your questions are buttercup.
Rosebud.
Line 3, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yeah.
That's you.
Hey, I can't believe I got through.
You have a question or comment?
Yes, I wanted to talk about those first 3 or 4 books. Could you just tell me one more time about those 3 books?
Radical Forgiveness.
That's it. That's one.
Radical Forgiveness is about why you need to forgive people, and what the power that you will gain by forgiving people and forgiving situations and forgiving yourself, what that will gain for you in your life as far as your health and your emotional well-being and your mental well-being, and being able to live a much more wholesome life.
Good start. That's a good start.
That's a good one. And your Sixth Sense talks.
Okay, I got that one. And then the one about the angels. And
Angel
what
energy.
was the other one?
Angel Energy.
Got that one.
The Secret of Letting Go.
That's it.
Yeah, this one is also quite good and talks about some methods and exercises to get you to understand why forgiving people and letting things go is a very healthy, and it's our birthright in order to live the most healthy, fulfilled life we can here.
To free ourselves
On this planet, on this beautiful planet.
Right, exactly.
All right, here's my comment. You guys, this was awesome what you were talking about. People live their lives and they never can figure out what it is. Religion's not fulfilling them. Relationships aren't fulfilling them. That you have to look deep into yourself, and you touched on it, and you're all very young and insightful guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you for
bless.
watching. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I
Bye.
appreciate that.
All right, line 2, you're on the air.
Hello, boy. That question is right up my alley. It's amazing. Okay, let's file this one under coincidence or divine intervention.
All of the above, but there are
You're walking down the street and you're thinking about your friend in New Mexico and the deserts and how beautiful it is. You turn the corner and there's a car with a license plate from New Mexico. It just hits you right in the face, right? And then you're walking a little bit further, and then you wonder when those two guys are going to apologize to the family of the girls that were killed at the yogurt shop, when you guys are going to face up and say, I'm sorry, put that show on the air, that it wasn't true, that you know it wasn't true, and yet you still will not apologize.
Dude,
that's
something you need to let go of, man.
You bloodthirsty.
You know, that's something you need to let go of. And, you know, whatever, you know. Call my show and bug me about it. Don't bug Corey about it.
Everybody
okay?
has their own opinions about all that stuff, and you know, by holding on to that, I think you just, you know, everyone's got their own opinion, right?
But I do not apologize for that show. I don't apologize for any of my shows, and I never will apologize for any of my shows.
Me neither, Skeeter. On the
Sounds like some forgiveness needs to be going on.
So, line 1, you're on the air.
Whoa, I don't know what that was all about, but
That's some history there. That's some history.
That's a good slide in there, dude. Way to slide in there. Line 3, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Good to see you back, Chris.
Thank you.
I just got a book in. I think I had seen an interview on one of your reality expander shows he sounded like a Russian physicist, and he discussed a book called The Cosmic Conspiracy.
Yeah.
And so I ordered it off his website and just got it in today. I was just kind of flipping through it. Wondered what your thoughts were on that particular book.
I think that guy's pretty darn insightful. The first time I heard him, I thought he was a complete kook and total weirdo. But now that I've researched more of his material, and that material in particular, I think he's right on target about a lot of that's what's going on behind the scenes. And it's also, even if it's not what's going on, it's definitely a good way to think about things and to see things, I think, and understand more about what's going on, that there are powerful forces at work, but there's even more powerful ones that are controlling them.
Good point. That's true.
Cool.
Stan
Thanks a
Dale,
lot.
he's from Texas, so I give him props right there. And he's one of that book, Cosmic Conspiracy, kind of is, to me, I put it in parallel kind of sort of with Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper, because those came out around similar times, and they were very groundbreaking and real thick, comprehensive books that really exposed a lot of the so-called Illuminati and New World Order activity that was going on behind the scenes, tying it to secret societies, the Fed, and all of this, you know, trying to get the whole unified picture on the whole thing. And I thought that was pretty interesting for those guys to bring that out.
Okay, so we only got a couple minutes left, so line 2, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I have a question. You guys are talking about mystery religions. Are you guys talking about mystery Babylon religions or Kabbalah and stuff like that?
There's lots of different schools.
Right.
I mean, and
Because to me that sounds more like Luciferianism.
That's one school of it, but you know, your life is a mystery school. You
Well,
know,
to me, the answer to the mystery is Yahweh and Yeshua.
As you go through
Well,
life.
that's the way you understand it.
Right.
And, you know, does that make you more right to, you know, put your understanding and impose it on others?
No, but y'all seem that y'all are pretty bright, and it seems like y'all are getting conned
Really?
into
Well,
worshiping.
That's just the way you
Lucifer.
understand it. You know what I mean? And we don't have enough time to really get into it. And
Worship,
so,
we're not encouraging anybody to worship anything.
Line
guys.
1.
Worship yourself.
You're on the air.
Hey, I was wondering if you guys could touch again on I think there was some kind of funky cycle we were going to go into over the next 10 days.
Tied into the Mayan calendar?
Yeah, it's not really a funky cycle. What it is for the
opportunity.
It's an opportunity. For the next 10 days in the Mayan calendar, basically you're going to have an opportunity to make a connection with the collective consciousness. You can pick any archetypes that you want, but the opportunity is there. The Mayans, they were great natural scientists, and they understood the way the cycles worked. And their calendar has built-in indicators which let you know what days are excellent days in which to make a connection with the collective consciousness. Now, whatever you want to call it, these are great days to pray. If you just want to pray for the next 10 days, your prayers will have more force.
I think any project you start
exactly.
It will have emphasis and enhanced because of this energy available at this point in time. It's just a matter of tapping into it, understanding it's available, tapping into it, making use of it. But for any kind of creative expression or any endeavor you're going to consider, now's a good time. It would be a helpful time to get into it.
All right, excellent. Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Let's grab maybe one more.
All right, one more call. Line 3, you're on the air.
Hey. I was wondering if you guys ever read the book Rebirth and Realization by James Conner.
Who's the author?
James Conner.
Not familiar with it.
Well, it tells a little bit about like waking up and realizing that we're all one, and we do have to live in this world with midgets, and those small, funny-looking bastards will always be around.
You know,
I love AT.
This guy is moving up the list, man. He's moving up the list.
Hang out, you know,
no, I'm telling you, because he has stayed with the thread. You know what I mean? That's what makes a really good prank caller. He's fast moving up the list.
But I think he's kind of setting his sights on the small things, you know what I mean? To get to the bigger picture.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I do want to say one thing about
about
religion, is that everyone does have their own religion. Even if you subscribe to a religion, if you call yourself a Christian, agnostic, an atheist, a Buddhist, everyone has their own religion because they ascribe different qualities and different ideas to different subjects.
Okay. Hey, thanks you guys. I really appreciate that. Jeff, Chris, I really appreciate it.
I just want to say, don't follow any religion where anybody tells you what to do.
Yeah.
That's not a religion at all.
That's a cult or dogma.
Exactly. Yeah, so thanks a lot, you guys. Thanks to my producer, Chris, for commanding the helm of the Starship Esoterica. I just like to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to view. Thanks, Austin. Really appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thanks, Austin.